but the pressure was there, and I didn't really feel it until I had to get out of my comfort zone, which is my college years in Canada, when I was there as a nobody. Nobody knew me. I had to make my own friends. I had to sort of like make my own reputation there. Um, but then I thank God for all those opportunities, because I believe that uh, the exposure I had to church culture when I was younger, it introduced me, or it made me familiar with what to expect in the ministry.
Yep.
Well, looking back now, and also my time away from my parents, that actually introduced me to like the real world and how to deal with the real world.
Yep.
So I guess in that case, like it's not a lot of. Uh, I never had those moments where I questioned God until like you know what, yeah, you know what I mean, like being sort of like towards the atheistic side for
Yes.
myself.
Yep.
But I did had a moment in senior high school where I was like, I don't want my faith to be my parents' faith. I don't
Yes.
want my faith to be some other people's faith, but I want this to be my own. So
Yes.
in my time away, I want to learn more about my faith, go deeper in my faith, and I want to know that God is real for myself.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome, man. I think I can relate to that. I didn't grow up with pastors' kids, but I grew up in a Christian family. But there's always that moment when you have to be asking yourself, is this for me? Is this mine? Or is this just something I've inherited? Um,
Yeah.
yeah, what do you think your parents did right that helped you, that set you up to succeed, perhaps? And maybe you don't have to answer this, but have you observed maybe what some people have done wrong that have kind of um,
Mm, yeah.
forced it, made their kids choose a different path?
Yeah, I think it's natural for parents to have expectations of their children, and for my parents, they've never really put as much expectation for any of us to go full time in the ministry.
Yes.
Like even for myself, I never saw myself as a full time minister. I never saw myself as a future pastor when I was younger.
Yep.
But what my parents did was whatever that they were teaching us, they were living it.
Yep.
So I learned about Christianity by more by example
Yes. Okay.
than just by words, just by teachings, and just by legalistic instructions. So I guess that's the major part of it. My parents were living the word, and just by their marriage and how they
Yep.
raised us, it's just a great example. And I'm just so blessed by God's grace for putting me in this family.
Yep.
And what I saw in different in other people is, I think some parents put too much pressure on their children.
Yep.
In the case of, I'm a pastor. We're a pastor's family,
Yes.
and I need my children to be active in the ministry.
Yes.
Um, I'm not saying that that's wrong.
Yes.
It's okay to have that expectation, but also putting too much pressure without knowing the essence of being in the ministry, which is it's an overflow of the heart,
Yes.
and it's an overflow of your relationship. And if we don't work on the relationship, a personal relationship with Christ, and we just say like you need to be active in the ministry,
Yep.
then that's just like an outward focus
Yep.
instead of like an inward transformation. So I guess that's when it gets tricky.
Yes. Yeah. Well, um, that's really, I suppose, really what struck me with your answer there, Justin, was the importance of relationship more so than anything else, and that's what your parents did. They demonstrated it was their real relationship with God, and they kind of they lived it out. And in some ways, they're inviting you to participate in that relationship and to start your own. Versus the okay, I'm the pastor. You need to behave yourself, otherwise you'll make me look bad. Or
Yeah.
you need to serve with me because how can I expect other people to serve if my own family isn't serving? And then it all becomes about the outcomes, ministry outcomes, and the
Yeah.
superficiality and appearance. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that that never happened to me, or that pressure was never there, because for sure, like other people would say, like, "Oh, how could you do that? You're a
Yep.
pastor's kid. How could you do
Yes.
that? Like
Yep.
you're the principal's kid." So that pressure was there, but it's just about like how we respond to it. And again, like this is all by the grace of God, and
Yes.
I am 100% sure that I would not be here if it's not for His grace. So yeah.
That's awesome, man. You mentioned that you never expected to be a pastor, and there wasn't really a lot of pressure for that to be put onto you. How did you know? Like you went and studied overseas
Mhm.
in Toronto. What university was that?
It's York University in Toronto.
Okay, yep. And got a Bachelor of Communication Studies. Um,
Yes.
how did you know? All right, actually, I am going to follow my dad's footsteps. um, and how did you know it wasn't just like it was a God thing as opposed to anything else?
Mm. I knew it was God's calling because I've been denying it for a long time.
Yep. Okay. Yep.
I would say that, yeah, again, like I've never expected to be full time in the ministry. I love volunteering in the ministry. So ever since I was in kids' church, I was
Yes.
involved in volunteering in the registration booth, and
Yes.
then I learned musical instruments, and then I got into the worship team.
Yes.
So I love volunteering in the ministry, but not so much as a vocational ministry.
Yep.
Um, and when I was probably around 8 years old, I received a prophecy.
Okay.
Someone prophesied to my parents, and uh, the prophet specifically said, "Your youngest son will be a lawyer."
Okay.
So ever since I was 8 years old, I knew that I was going to pursue law school.
Okay.
And all the way until high school, I realized that Canada has a really good law school,
Yes.
uh, but they didn't allow an undergraduate law degree. So I had to take my undergraduate in communications, and then I
Okay.
would continue on to my master's in law.
Yes.
I was on that track,
Yes.
but somewhere in the middle, towards my graduation from my undergraduate, um, there was just that moment when I just felt like, God, I could be doing more.
Yes.
I know that I could be doing more, but I'm not sure what.
Yep.
So at that moment, I just made the decision, Lord, wherever that you go, I'll go.
Okay.
Wherever that you say, I'll say.
Yep.
So it was a long process, probably like a year. But somewhere in 2016, I felt God calling me back to Indonesia.
Yes.
I wasn't too sure what for,
Yep.
but when I went back, I knew that I would be volunteering in the youth ministry.
Yep.
At that time, we didn't have a campus ministry, so it was still a high school ministry.
Yes.
So when I went back, uh, I was thinking that I'm gonna work full time somewhere else, and then I'm gonna volunteer, probably like a part time capacity in the church. But Pastor Yahya called me in. He's our senior pastor. Called
Yes.
me into his office, and he said, um, we are in need of a male campus missionary around your age range, someone
Yes.
who's closer to the age range of the student. So could you please pray about it?
Yes.
And at that time, I was like, nah, probably this is not for me.
Yep.
Probably it's for someone else. So I've been denying that.
Yep.
To be perfectly honest, I was worried about the financial aspects of being a full time minister.
Yes.
Um, Thank God for our Every Nation family in the Philippines. We went for 2 week campus exposure
Yes.
with a few of the delegates from around the world. And I talked to all the campus missionaries there. I explained like the need of Indonesia. And at that time, I just felt like God telling me, consider it, like seriously consider it, uh, going full time in the ministry. So I decided to sort of challenge God.
Yep.
I told him like this was sometime in May or June, and I told him like, okay, if I am to dive into the ministry, I wouldn't want to go in without being equipped.
Yep.
So if you really want me here, allow me to be in the School of Campus Ministry in this next batch, in the
Yes.
September batch.
Yes.
Um, I asked Pastor Joe, I asked if there was still a slot there. And he said, you know what? It's all full. Everyone's already signed in. And we have like the biggest batch. I think there was like 45 students registered there.
Okay.
But then he said, I'll put you on the waiting list, but then we're not sure. We're not sure if you're gonna make it. If you're not gonna make it in the final list, we'll allow you in the January list.
Yep.
So I'm like, okay, maybe God's saying it's not time yet.
Yep.
Uh, Funny story. When I finally received the letter of acceptance
Yep.
to the school, and then I was like, okay, I guess they made an exception because when we arrived in class, there were 46 students.
Yep.
So I was like, Pastor Joe, what happened? I thought there was only supposed to be 45. Did
Yep.
you make me as an exception?
Yep.
So this is when I knew that God is working.
Yep.
He said to me, when we were finalizing the list, your name appeared in number 45. And then when we were finalizing it, we're like, we already sent those letters of acceptance. And then when we were finalizing the list, we realized that we missed the number one student, student number one who signed up for this last year.
Okay.
And that turned out to be you.
Really? That was
Yeah, it turned
me.
out to be you.
Wow. We're connected
So
in
they
more ways
forgot.
than we know.
Exactly. So they
They forgot
forgot to
me.
put they forgot to put your name in the final
Yes, that's
list.
crazy. You know what? It's not the first time I've been forgotten. It won't be the last time I've been forgotten. But if me being forgotten me is God working a way to open a door for you, then I choose to be forgotten anytime. So that's
This
yeah,
is
that's
why it's
amazing.
true.
That's amazing.
It's the sovereignty of God.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
when they were finalizing, it's like, oh, we can't leave out Ken Johnston. So for sure, we're gonna make an exception. He's number 46 now.
Yes, yes.
So I'm like,
Um,
yeah, this is definitely God.
it's interesting. You mentioned that. Do you still feel a call to the law, like because of that prophetic word, um, when you were
Hmm.
eight, or do you kind of think maybe the prophet missed it, or I don't know, how do you see that prophecy? Because it sounds like it shaped your life quite powerfully, but you're
Hmm.
not a lawyer at the moment. You gave up being a lawyer.
Yes. So actually, that's something that people have been asking me. My high school friends have been asking me that too. Like, are you still going to pursue law? And what I would answer them is, I would go wherever God wants me to be because that's where I would feel most fulfilled.
Yes.
So I did work an office job before going back to Indonesia, and I was on the right track. I
Yep.
was going to work for a couple of years, save up for law school.
Yep.
But then at that point, I just felt everything was going well. But at
Yep.
that point, I just felt that I could be doing more. Like I
Yes.
felt restless, like there was
Yes.
something missing.
Sure.
But then when God called me back to Indonesia, I just felt that peace.
Yes.
And I just felt like this is where God wants me to be. So
Yes.
I would say like the prophecy of me being a lawyer, that's a push for me to go to the direction where God wanted
Yes.
me to
Yes.
eventually go.
Yep.
So even if that a specific promise wasn't technically fulfilled,
Yes.
at that point, it's like this is where I feel
Yes.
most fulfilled right now,
Yes. Yep.
and this is where I'm happy to be. So I'm happy
Yes.
that even if that prophet maybe she got it wrong, but it pushed me in the right direction, and
Yes.
eventually I'm where God wants me to be.
God used it to bring you to the place of being in the center of His will right now,
Mhm.
which is amazing. That's awesome. I'm quite curious, Justin. Indonesia is the world's largest Muslim nation. What's it like? What's it like
Right.
ministering where another religion is the predominant faith? What are the particular challenges? Where do you see God's grace amongst that challenge? Is it something that you're conscious of, and um,
Mhm.
I can't even comprehend what it's like to minister where most of the people that I'm around are quite observant Muslims. How would you respond to
Right.
that? What are your thoughts?
Um, this is where I'm really thankful that Indonesia is different from other nations in a
Yes,
sense that even though the the majority of the nation professes that they're Muslim, and we are the largest nation of Muslims,
yes,
but our nation itself, our government itself, we don't consider ourselves a Muslim government.
yep,
So it's still a free nation. Like we're free to practice our Christianity, we're free to practice the religions here, and we don't feel that um, government persecution
yes,
towards the minorities. But in a sense of relationships, there's definitely a barrier, especially among the students. Um, but again, like our version of Islam is more towards like the conservative,
yes,
um, as compared to like the radical and the more strict. Uh, but building relationships with the students is okay, but when you touch on religion, that's when it gets a bit sensitive.
okay, yep,
So relational evangelism is very key here.
okay.
Um, think of it like, uh, did you grow up as a Christian when you
I,
were
I
younger?
I I did, yes, I did.
So it's the same like us. Like when we grow up in a Christian family, we're closed off to the outside religion, or we're not familiar with Islam. We're not
Yes,
familiar with Buddhism. So I put myself in their shoes. They're they grew up in an Islamic. They grew up in a Muslim family, Muslim surroundings. They have no idea about
Yes.
Christianity,
Yep.
and so when we're relating to them, it's more towards being an example. It's more
Yes.
towards showing them that we care, that we love
Yes.
them, that
Yes.
despite our backgrounds, we still are brothers.
Yes.
That's the most important thing.
I
So
love it.
we've seen a few
Yep.
come to the faith
Yes.
because of a relationship, because of long time
Yes.
building and just sowing those seeds.
That's actually amazing. What you're describing is exactly my approach to reaching out to non-religious Australians. So they might have some kind of understanding. They have a lot of misconceptions about Christianity. But you make a good point. I'm not going to respond to some random Muslim or Buddhist or Hindu person, knocking on my door and saying, "Hey, do you want to know more about our religion?" No, thanks.
Yeah,
It's not that's if I did that to sounds like if you did that to Muslims in Indonesia, they're going to say no thanks, I don't want to. But you're talking about building relationship, and that old saying of no one cares how much you know until they know how much you care, and demonstrating
yeah,
building relationship. It sounds like it takes time, right? Is it so?
definitely.
Could take years for some people where you're building relationship, but then you're
Yeah,
sowing seed and you're sowing seed, and you have a hope that that the Holy Spirit will do a work to bring a harvest in that person's life. So
definitely.
yeah, that's really it's actually really interesting that what you're doing and your approach that you're using in a majority Muslim nation is actually
Mm.
very similar to the approach that we're trying to use here in Every Nation Melbourne. So, wow, I didn't know that, but it makes me excited. It makes me feel like I should go to Jakarta. I should hang out.
You should
I should come,
definitely.
and absolutely. Okay. Yeah, and thank God for a Muslim nation, but a like you said, not necessarily a Muslim government. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And one thing I like to add to that, maybe this could be an encouragement for people who are looking to reach out to our Muslim brothers and sisters as well.
yes,
Um, when we as Christians, when we challenge them with the gospel, we're asking them, we're, we're, we're more than just asking them to give up intellectual aspects of their faith. We're
yes,
asking them to give up their families. We're asking them to give up their whole life for something that they're foreign to.
yes,
So I guess that's the importance of relationship, letting them know that you have a family
yes,
as believers, as followers of Christ. You
yes,
have a family in God, and even if the whole world denies you,
yes,
if you accept God, the Lord Himself will never deny you.
yes. Well, I mean, that's profoundly powerful. That's probably something we don't have here in Melbourne. Is that cost? Obviously, if you ask someone who's grown up in a Muslim family to start following Jesus, there's a huge and immediate cost. It's not costless in Australia, but it's not like that.
Mhm.
But thanks for sharing that. I mean, that does put things in perspective, and that's what these discussions are all about: getting different perspectives, different insights. And thanks so much, Justin. Justin, I know
Yeah.
that you're a worshipper and you're involved in the worship ministry in Every Nation Jakarta. What's it been like for you moving to online services? How's that impact you as a are you a musician or vocalist or both?
Both.
Okay, so are you just giving it your all like you would if you were in front of hundreds, or does it kind of take the edge off having to do it in front of a camera, or is it the audience of one of type thing? How do you approach the online worship aspect?
It's very different. I haven't done a lot of Sunday service worship leading lately.
Yep.
For the online services, we have other worship leaders doing that, but it's definitely different when you're a musician, when you're a worship leader in front of a camera. This is the secular aspect. Playing in a live audience
Yep.
is a different feel, or it takes a different energy.
Yes.
It's as compared to playing in a studio or playing in a closed room. So it's definitely something different. But in terms of the presence, we've experimented with a lot of different ways of doing worship.
Yep.
So there was one time when we uh, we did a Zoom call,
Yes.
and we just had praise and worship there, and
Yes.
we just had everyone else mute their mics, and then we just sing along together. But
Yes.
then we also had Instagram Live, where
Yes.
we just asked one of the well, thank God that a lot of Indonesian families, they're all musically inclined,
Yes.
so we have siblings to just worship together. So one would play the guitar, one would sing. So we had that kind of service on our Instagram Live as well.
Yes.
And in those different cases, we can still feel the presence of God real
Yes.
wherever that we are. So
Yes.
I guess in that case, like the atmosphere or the presence of God, it doesn't change.
Yes.
But of course, like the feel or the approach, the method,
Yes.
it varies.
Yes, yep, yep. Why is it? That's something I've noticed with it, because we have quite a lot of Indonesian churches in Melbourne. So we have
Mhm.
lots of Indonesian students coming. We have lots of Indonesian families immigrating, and there's a lot of, it seems to me, lots of Indonesians are actually in Indonesian churches here. Obviously, there's a language thing, and that's fine. I totally get that. But their approach to worship is highly professional and excellent, and it just seems that there's so many great musicians and vocalists. Where when we meet live and we do worship, we have the chord charts out on our music stands. I never see that in an Indonesian church. Every key is
Really?
memorized. It's just like rock. If you're not allowed to have a chord chart, you have to know that song in every key. You just get up there and what is it about Indonesia that does that?
That is a good question that I have not found an answer to. I noticed that as well when I was in Canada. I realized that not a lot of people are musically inclined in the West.
Yep.
I'm not sure if that's the case in Australia as well, but definitely like in Indonesia, almost in every single house, there's probably one person who's musically inclined, if not the whole family.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not too sure. I need to do some research on that.
Do you use chord charts in Every Nation Jakarta?
Uh, no,
No. No. You're not allowed
no.
to, right? If you need to use chord charts, you're not allowed on the team.
That's not a rule, but it's an unspoken rule.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like,
Fair
yeah.
enough. Fair enough. Um, wow. So, um, this is something, a question I've been asking a bunch of the different discussion partners, conversation partners in Meta, and that is, if you could go back 7 weeks, 8 weeks, and encourage yourself, say, "Hey, Justin, um, life's going to change. The world might never be the same. Things are going to be very different, but it's okay because these are the things that I've learned about who God is and what He's doing." What would you say to
Mm,
yourself to encourage yourself coming into all that we've been through?
mm. Um, yeah, that's an interest. Yeah, that's very interesting. Because the way that we've shifted now is that we're still doing the same things that we would do without the quarantine. We're still following up with students. We're still doing our leadership development. We're still doing discipleship. So I would say get your heart ready
Yes,
because there's going to be a lot of moments of impartation,
yes,
and then just get everything fixed, get your laptop fixed, get your phone fixed, because you're going to be busy there on your
yeah,
gadgets
yep,
contacting students. So I love to consider myself as like a 24/7 on call missionary.
wow,
um, and I hope that this doesn't stay uh, during the quarantine, but even extends like all throughout. Because again, like discipleship is relationship,
yes,
and what we're doing right now is the same as what we were doing like 7 weeks ago. We're
yes,
still discipling people. We're still connecting with people. But even now, the opportunity is I'm able to follow up with more students
yes,
because they don't have any excuse anymore.
yeah,
They don't have any like I'm busy. No, you're at home.
yes, yep,
But I thank God for those opportunities for us to just connect with more students, connect with students who have not been as active as they wanted to be
yes,
in church. But
yep.
now we're able to just converse with them and just rebuild our relationship with them.
So it's almost like you'd go back in time and say, "Hey, Justin, get ready. It's going to be a season of hard work
Yeah.
and seizing the opportunity. Don't say 3 months and then comes the harvest. The harvest is now. It's almost like all hands on deck. That's what it's been like for you."
definitely.
Wow.
I guess there was a moment where I was a bit too caught up in a routine
Okay.
of the ministry
Yep.
that all right, so week in and week out I'm just doing the same thing over and over again. But this is like something of a change, and I'm sort of looking more on the positive side of this, is that
Yes.
it's
Okay.
a wake-up call for the ministers. It's a wake-up call for all missionaries and
Yes.
staff of the church that we might not be able to do church the same way that we've done it before. So it's
Yes.
time to wake up, time to rethink, it's
Yes.
time to re-strategize.
Yes.
And yeah, we're seeing like a lot of fruits from our labor this past few weeks.
Love it. That's awesome. Well, I'm just going to change tack now, and I've got some speed round questions. They're kind of just a little bit more fun. You don't have, a little bit less serious, and There's no right or wrong answers. Um,
Before that, can I just say that I'm not able to look at your face right now, but I've been having this on just so that I feel like I'm speaking to
yes,
you and
yes,
Kira.
yes. I don't look like that right now. That was me. I don't even know when that was. That was actually that was
It was
that
February 2013.
okay. That was I went to. That's actually a special photo. That was a photo when Kira and I we went up to Sydney for a campus conference, and it really reignited
Oh,
my passion for the campus in many ways. I believe. I think that's what. And that was after a season of incredible turmoil in the church. But anyway, speed round questions. Let's go through this. What's a talent, Justin, that you have that many people don't know you have? A secret talent, a hidden talent.
I love doing accents.
Okay, okay. Well, follow up question. Can you do an Aussie accent?
Oh, that's something that I'm working on. Uh, no, oh my gosh,
Okay,
I'm
well,
embarrassed.
give me some accents. And I'll try and guess what countries they are. Give me an accent.
But like, are you able to notice this accent?
Scottish.
Oh, there you
Yeah.
go. And of course, you know a Porsche accent.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yep. What about Canadian?
Oh, Canadian. This is a stereotypical Canadian. Oh, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? It's
Okay.
sort of like a Scottish-ish
Yes. Yes.
with American.
Okay. That's good. That's good. But you got to say hey on the end, don't you? Hey. Hey.
Right?
You got to say hey.
Yeah, sometimes it comes out.
Yes. Yep. If I was coming over to your place, what meal would you cook if you were wanting to impress me?
Hmm. Oh man.
Mee goreng, Indomie
Nah,
goreng.
those are instant noodles. I wouldn't be able to impress you with that. I guess I'd cook you steak. Do you like steak?
I do like steak. Okay,
There we go.
interesting.
So
Yeah,
I'll
there
cook
we
you
go.
steak.
Okay, what's the playlist of your life or the soundtrack of your life? What would or what's the theme song for your life?
Huh. My musical taste or like my playlist is actually a mix of everything. Um, oh, Chris Tomlin's "I Will Follow."
Okay, love it. Very spiritual. Okay, what about a secular song?
I know, right?
What about a secular song?
A secular song, it would be this is hard. Something Ed Sheeran, probably.
Ed Sheeran, yes.
Photograph, thinking out
Okay,
loud.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. Awesome. Have you been to an Ed Sheeran concert?
I have not. I
Okay,
really wanted to.
okay,
Last time he
nice.
came, like he sold out the whole stadium.
Sure. Yep. What mythical creature would you want to be if you could be a mythical creature?
Oh, dragon.
Dragon, Chinese dragon
For sure.
or Western dragon? Because they're quite different.
Are they?
Yes.
I've never
Yep.
noted.
Okay. Western dragon's a
I'm
bit
okay with
more.
Asian.
Okay. Yep. Um, who's your favorite preacher or theologian?
Oh, there's quite a few. I'm. I listen to a lot of Tim Keller.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
I Ravi Zacharias. I took a few of his courses as well.
Okay.
Um, and probably R.C. Sproul.
Okay. So leaning reformed, the reformed
Yes.
influence. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
I also had a reformed period of my life. We'll see how long yours goes for.
I would
uh,
follow that question with, "Are you an Armenian or Calvinist?"
I probably lean Calvinist,
Okay.
but there's a lot of baggage with Calvinism, and also I think that the question of soteriology is individualized when actually the
Mm,
language of election in the New Testament is corporate. So
mm,
I don't know what that means in the sense of because when the language of election is really about Israel and the church, but what does that mean for
mm.
me as an individual? So it's interesting.
Right, right.
Yes, just got a comment here from one of our guys in the chat here says, "I believe Pastor Ken's secular theme song will be Gangster's Paradise," which would absolutely be true. It's my go-to karaoke song, but it's also the theme song of my life. All right, a few more quick speed round questions. If you could invite three people to dinner, historical, fictional, or present, who would you invite to dinner?
Can I say Jesus?
Yes, you can. Yes.
Right. So definitely I'll have Jesus over. I would have Abraham Lincoln.
Okay. Yes.
Um, and probably I would have Socrates just because.
Okay. All right. So, well, that would be an interesting conversation between Jesus and Socrates. Very interesting.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, are you Star Wars or Harry Potter?
Star Wars. I tried to watch the Harry Potter series, but I couldn't stand it.
Okay.
I was bored.
What's your opinion of the new Star Wars movies?
Not as good as the original
Okay.
trilogy.
Okay. Fair enough. Well, thank you so much, Justin. That's it for our speed round, and yeah, it's actually been really enlightening speaking to you, especially your approach to ministering to Muslims. It sounds really similar to our approach to reaching out to non-religious Australians. So, yeah. Well, hang around for a little bit, but I'm just going to wrap up with our guys here. So, thank everyone for joining us, whether you're watching it live or in the chat. Sorry, or recorded later. Um, this has been our meta conversations. Conversations provide wisdom, perspective, insight, hope, and courage beyond ourselves. That's what the Greek word meta means, above or beyond. I'm Ken Johnson, Senior Pastor Every Nation Melbourne. This has been my guest, Justin from Every Nation Jakarta, Campus Missionary, and Ed Sheeran fan. And that's it for us tonight. As always, be blessed.